music.
You are now entering a parallel universe.
And wipe your feet on the way in.
Marc Riley, BBC Six Music.
The Electric Prunes, and I had too much to dream last night. I'm Marc Riley in the company of your actual Bobby Hughes. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. That's a great tune, isn't it?
It is. It's a whopper.
You know, we're looking at the New Musical Express, as it's called then, January 21st, 1967. So I'd just be over one year old.
Me too.
So, you know, I came to that tune by Electric Prunes, like many people of my generation, through the Nuggets compilation that Lenny Kaye did.
Crucial. Lenny Kaye, of course, Patti Smith group.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it says in here, new single from Electric Prunes, strange rasping noises and electronic effects embellish this Stones-like up-tempo R&B raver.
Right.
Interesting cover. As we've said before, there's not a lot of, you know, it's flimsy, but it's great from a historical perspective. The cover is Between the Buttons, the Stones album. I think it's a load of sort of doodles, cartoon doodles. I'm pretty sure that's Charlie Watts' work. I'm sure he was an artist, wasn't he?
Yes, and it is funny, isn't it, that a magazine such as a New Musical Express would hand over the front page to an advert.
I know. Yeah, very strange. Talking of the Stones, how far are you into the Stones documentary?
Well, I think it's well documented that I'm not mad on the Stones, but obviously there's an interesting story there, and they have made some brilliant tunes, don't get me wrong. But the one I've only watched thus far is the Ronnie Wood one.
Oh, okay. Is it good value?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, he comes across as a good guy. I mean, he's obviously, you know, he's dabbled.
Yeah, sure.
Over the years, you know, and he had a lost decade, I think, or maybe even more. And there is some interesting stuff on there about the tune It's Only Rock and Roll.
Oh, all right.
Which seemingly Ronnie Wood had a large hand in writing, but seemingly didn't have a large part of the credit.
Okay, so it's a contentious writing credit, perhaps?
Well, I think it's just the way it is in the Stones, isn't it?
Right.
As far as I can gather, I think that they're just if you're part and parcel of the Rolling Stones and whatever you contribute, then I think that it's just accepted that it's Jagger Richards and in the credits. That's the way it comes across anyway.
All right, I must watch that. All right, back to 1967.
It's Mick Jagger's birthday today.
Is it really?
It is.
Happy birthday then.
Absolutely.
So, back to 67. This is a strange review. Jeremy Pascal reviews the first Monkees album. He says, it has to be said the Monkees is an album which owes much to the influence of the Beatles. This is probably the most pleasant, tuneful, catchy and occasionally funny LP I've heard since Rubber Soul. It's not a Revolver or Pet Sounds, it's not the least bit progressive, but it's good, unpretentious pop. The arrangement's uncluttered and not clever. For a first LP, the standard is exceptionally high. Any doubts about the boys' playing ability are completely dispelled, and Mike Nesmith emerges as a composer and producer. Well, we know that Mike Nesmith was a great talent as he emerged later, but this idea about the Monkees playing their own instruments on that first album is, as we know, it's a lie, isn't it? The vocals they contributed.
I mean, the musicianship, that doesn't stand up in court. And I know that they did learn to play their instruments better as time went on. But also, the concept of them being a little bit like the Beatles, it's hardly a revelation, is it?
No, of course it isn't. Other news, The Who, The Cream, The Merseys and Crispian St. Peters are among the artists who joined Brian Epstein's vast empire with the amalgamation this week of the Robert Stigwood organisation and NEMS Enterprises. As a result of the takeover, NEMS also acquired Screaming Lord Sutch. Epstein told the NME, although Mr. Stigwood will share with me in the general managing of NEM's widening interests, I shall continue to be personally responsible for the Beatles and Cilla Black. Meanwhile, it says a decision has still not been taken regarding the title or release date of the Beatles' next single, said Epstein. He says they're recording as many titles as possible to give them a wider range of the final choice. The next single turned out to be Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields.
Oh, man.
Oh, how much stuff were they doing?
Indeed.
The Beatles have now approved Owen Holder's basic script for their third film, are awaiting the final screenplay before setting a shooting date. As reported in the NME in October, the picture will feature the group in comedy character roles with little or no singing, but there'll be a full Lennon-McCartney incidental score. Got to confess my ignorance here, I hadn't heard of this Owen Holder film at all.
Does it exist?
Well, the next film, as we know, is Magical Mystery Tour, which had nothing to do with Owen Holder. So Owen Holder is no longer with us. We had an idea, and it remains an unmade film script that conceived the band members as 4 aspects of one person's imagination.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, anyway.
Fell at the first hurdle, or the second hurdle, maybe.
I think so. And also in the news, back to the Monkees there to make their first full feature-length film in Hollywood, probably starting in the spring. It says they're likely to cut their planned British visit still further. While the final script and shooting date have not been fixed, there's some doubt whether a second TV series will ever be filmed. Its US sponsors are said to be unimpressed by the average audience ratings, which the current series has attracted in America.
It's funny because we talked a while ago about the biopic of the Monkees, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And there's a really incredible scene where I can't remember, it might be Peter talking to John Lennon in a bar.
Right.
And the John Lennon thing is almost as hilarious as the Al Pacino clip that's doing the rounds on Twitter at the moment. So if you haven't seen that, the actual kind of cut and thrust, I'm going off on a tangent, but bear with me. If you do Twitter, it's worth checking out. So they were saying that all these years we've been having a go at Dick Van Dyke for his bad English accent. In Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Sure. Cop for this. And I don't know what the film is, but it's Al Pacino talking about a dog. And in an English accent, kind of, and it's hilarious. But anyway, sorry, the tangent. But there's that scene in the Monkees film which is just riotous, unintentionally.
Okay, I need to. I'm trying to think what that Al Pacino film is now. Anyway,
I'll show you the clip.
News: the Yardbirds are to record in future under the supervision of independent producer Mickey Most. The first session under the new deal is set for early February. When the group get back from touring Australia with the Walker Brothers. This will be the Yardbirds' first recording as a quartet. So no Beck, no Clapton, but Jimmy Page is there, 67.
Good enough.
Besides cutting a new single and several album tracks, Most will make a short TV promo film of the session. Meanwhile, ex-Yardbird Jeff Beck, also recorded by Most, has been cutting his first solo single this week. This is Hi Ho Silver Lining, which he hated. He disowned it.
Leave it, Bob.
In the news, Otis Redding and Percy Sledge are now confirmed for a British tour in the early spring. They fly in March to head a package of artists recording for the Atlantic label. The remainder of the package consists of Eddie Floyd, Sam and Dave, and Booker T of the MGs. The opening date of the British itinerary has not been finalised, but the first venue will be at the Hammersmith Odeon. What a lineup! Imagine seeing that bill.
Oh, for a time machine is the phrase we use, I think, Bob.
Oh, for a time machine to see Jimi Hendrix in his prime.
Yeah, okay, so we've got 2 options here. I'm going to go for Are You Experienced?
Oh, that's what I wanted, yeah.
Good stuff. Probably the greatest rock star ever, Bob. What do you think to that, then?
Certainly the best all-round rock star. Definitely could do everything. There's nothing he couldn't do. Nobody else could match that, can they?
It's a bit like Lennon in a way. Not saying that about Lennon, but just saying that he hated his own voice, didn't he? And I don't think Jimi Hendrix was that keen on his, but I think he's got a great voice, and he was the greatest guitarist ever, and his songs were amazing, and what he did in the studio was amazing. So, everybody knows that we're mad on Bowie, but you'd have to give it to Jimmy, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll look at the Enemy, aren't we, from January 67. Imagine hearing that for the first time in 67, because it's the backdrop of all that kind of bubblegum pop and the rest of it.
Yeah, incredible.
So he's...
having said that, Bob, he opened for the Monkees on tour, didn't he?
He did in the States, and it was the biggest mismatch ever. He left, didn't he, after a while? He just couldn't take any more. Yeah. On the news page, Jimi Hendrix, the first new solo sensation of 1967, will undertake his first major concert tour in the late winter. His agent told the Enemy they've been offered 4 different tours. At least one offer will be accepted. Meanwhile, he and his group, The Experience, visit the continent at the end of next month for a 5-day Belgian tour. The dates in the UK include Haverstock Hill Country Club tonight, Friday, London Refectory on Saturday, Oldham Astoria, Norwich, Orford Cellar and Chislehurst Caves in Bromley on Friday. And Keith Altham here gets to meet him. So Jimi Hendrix new to the charts. The man for whom the words Wild One were invented has hit us. Jimi Hendrix, 22, from Seattle, Washington, USA. Courtesy of ex-Animal Chaz Chandler, debuts in the Enemy chart at number 24 with his self-arranged Hey Joe. He's a one-man guitar explosion with a stage act, which leaves those who think pop has gone pretty with their mouths hanging open. This is the story of his life in his own words. We can't go through the whole thing, but just a couple of quotes here. He says, one of the Isley brothers heard me play playing in a club and said he had a job open. Sleeping between those tall tenements was hell. He says rats running across your chest, cockroaches stealing your last candy bar. So I figured, yeah, okay, I'll gig. But I got tired of playing in the key of F all the time and turned in my white mohair silk suit and patent leather shoes. Goes on to say in Atlanta, I auditioned with Little Richard and worked with him all over the US, finally landing in Los Angeles, playing more gigs with Ike and Tina Turner. I quit Little Richard because of a money misunderstanding, which is putting it very kind of lightly and to rest. I had all these ideas and sounds in my brain, and playing this other people's music all the time was really hurting me bad. So obviously he forms a Blue Flames. He ends up in New York. Chas Chandler finds him, and the rest was history.
Indeed.
He says at this point, the only thing I want to do now, I'm going to make certain that I don't mess it all up. Other stuff going on, letters page, loads of Beatles versus Monkees debates going on. Beatles generally winning that one, I think.
No surprise.
But Chris Green of Kingston in Surrey goes on a different tack. He says Cat Stevens and The Move are the names for 67. The Move present the group scene with a jarring change, loud, hard and almost brutal in their approach to pop. They'll surely create some of the most exciting, vital and dynamic sounds and visual experiences for the year ahead. Are we carrying on?
We could probably do we go into the next tune, I
Let's
would
go
imagine,
to the
mate.
tune. This is a great one, isn't it?
Okay, the Walker Brothers
It
and
is.
Stay With Me Baby. The Walker Brothers and Stay With Me Baby, which has typically got the production values of everything and the kitchen sink.
Yes, all right. Panorama there.
Yeah, sounds good though.
Yeah, great. Enemy, 21st of January 1967. Keith Altham again gets to meet Scott Walker. He was lucky, Keith Altham, wasn't he? Because he could just go everywhere. You could make friends with people. You just bump into them in clubs around London and all the rest of it.
They used to go to the houses of the pop stars and all that, didn't they?
Says he meets Scott Engel here. He's in high spirits when I found him. It's at his apartment off Regent's Park last week, just before the Walkers flew off to Australia. The reason for his newly generated hilarity was that Gary Leeds had moved in. Scott says the fans got too much for him at his place and he fled here. They've had to find us an apartment up on the roof now because Gary's brought all his fans with him. It's no longer a case of 5 or 6 at the front door. We've got 50 or 60 screaming through the letterbox.
Right.
Well, I've got him now, and his telescopes and his Otis Redding rubbish and his coughs and colds, and he's taken up the sitar. He's having a lesson later, so I'm going to go have a bath.
He sounds like a nightmare housemate, doesn't he?
That was never going to last, was it?
Oh.
He also has a few perceptive words on the Walkers' future. As far as the public's concerned, he says, I don't think that big hit records are necessary to us. We proved we could still pull capacity crowds on that 33-date marathon tour of ours. The Walker Brothers are now planted in people's minds, rather, as the Beatles and Stones were established. People would come to see us out of visual curiosity. Fair enough. Gigs this week, Jimi Hendrix at the Uppercut in East London, Spencer Davis Group, the Hollies and Paul Jones at Glasgow Odeon, Roy Orbison and the Small Faces, there's a bill, Carlisle ABC, the Easy Beats at Manchester Bellevue, Chuck Berry at London Savile Theatre run by Brian Epstein, Pink Floyd at the University of Essex in Colchester, the Yardbirds at Barnsley Civic Hall, the Herd at the Marquee, Family at the Cosmopolitan Ballroom in Carlisle, and the Trogs at Wimbledon Palais.
Lovely.
Oh, terrific. Tailpieces, just briefly, this is the stuff on the back which is just sort of like fluff, gossipy news. For example, Dutchman Harry Vander of the Easy Beats is learning English from Glaswegian George Young with a Scots accent. So this is the AC/DC connection, isn't it?
It is. The family all went over there as £10 poms, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. Older brother Angus and Malcolm. And in Ireland, Bing Crosby has partnered up with Frank Sinatra in a stud farm.
Oh.
In certain photos, Georgie Fame looks more like Tommy Steele's twin. And right after Don Arden sold his rights in the Small Faces, along came the move for him, which, well, having spoke to Roy Wood about the whole thing wasn't the best move for them, was it?
Well, you've got to be careful what you say, haven't you? But yeah, Don Arden did leave a trail of bands behind him, of
He
course,
did.
and yeah, Sharon Arden being Sharon
Yeah.
Osbourne, etc., etc.
Of course, absolutely. There is a kind of an interview here with the Enemy with the move. Carl Wayne is in the Enemy office, said leaning forward in his hardback chair, lashing his leather overcoat with his black thonged belt, it says.
Nice.
Talking about the fact that on stage they would smash up cars and take an axe to TV sets, and they'd say, what he's saying here is it's commentary on anti-socialism and society in general.
I got that.
Interestingly, though, he says, don't ever call us psychedelic. We're not that at all. We're showmen. And wait till you hear our next single, I Can Hear the Grass Grow. That's a fantastic title, isn't it? He says, our lead guitarist Roy Wood wrote it. A photographer said to him, bet you can't write a song around these words, Roy. And He did.
And he did. He wrote a great one. And the story came out not that long ago that it was Davy Bowie who suggested that the move get together in the first place.
Oh.
Various component musicians in Birmingham at that point in time. Anyway, we've got to go, Bob. That was great. Thanks to you and everybody else involved in the programme. Deb Grant is next. Hello, Deb. And we'll leave you with the Mamas and the Poppers and Creek Alley, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Prepare to exit the parallel universe.
Marc Riley, BBC Six Music.
And shut the door on your way out.